Okay, we're going to DIY a Canadian amortization schedule for a mortgage. So pause the video here and get your spreadsheet set up with the titles like I've got. So I highlighted the columns A through F, and I clicked this button up here, which is a merge and center cells, and I made them size 18 and bold. And then in B2 I put principal, and below that interest rate, and then in cell D2 term in years and initiation date. And I skipped a line just for some spacing, and I put the following titles: period, date, monthly payment, interest payment, principal payment, and the loan balance. And I spread these out, the column widths, so that they're nicely spaced. So when you've got this ready, let's begin. So we'll give it $160,000 as an interest or an initial principal amount for our mortgage, and we'll use that interest rate. It'll be 6.75%. And our term, we'll go with a 25-year term. And for initiation date, you can enter this like a day, month, year. So why don't we say the 1st of, why not February 2021. Now, we may want to format this as a number amount. We can do that with a $sign up there. And here we go. So period, we're going to start with 0, and then this would be 1, and this would be 2, and so on. And if we're going to do this monthly for 25 years, that's 300. So we can click on 2, and that little bucket there, we could drag all the way down to 300 if we wanted to, and we can, oh, that didn't do it. If we dragged on, highlight 2 of those, we could drag down. We can see now it will continue the numbering. So we could drag those down, and we'll go all the way. We started on column 4, so we'll actually go to 304. Oh, not quite there yet. 300, there we go. Now you can press Control and then the up arrow, and it'll bring you back to civilization way up there. Okay, so period 0 is actually our beginning of the month. We haven't made a payment yet because remember, we're making our payments at the end of the month. So this is our starting date. So I'm going to say equals, and I'm just going to click on the date and then press enter. Our monthly payment to start is 0, interest payment is 0, principal payment is 0, and our loan balance, I'm going to say equals, and I'm going to click on the principal amount up there and press enter. Now these are all money amounts. Mine are already formatted, but you can format as currency up there if you hadn't done that yet. Okay, here's the important part, formulas. So number 2, we want our date to increase by 1 month each time because we're going to pay this off monthly. It's compounding semi-annually. We'll take care of that in a second. So we're going to use a formula here. We're going to say this is equal to, we're going to say date. So we're going to enter a date format. And we're going to grab the year, open a bracket, and then click on the date above it. Close your bracket. So it's the same year as above, and then month, click on the month above it, but we're going to +1 to that month, comma, and then our day, we can make it the same day as above. Okay, it looks like I did January 2nd instead of February 1st, but you know what? I could go in and change that in my original one and make this the 2 and that the 1, and now I can see it's second month, day, year, and it updates everything. Alright, our monthly payment, here's where the magic takes place. So we're going to say equals IPMT bracket, and you can see some helpful hints on how to fill in this formula here. The first argument it wants is the rate, then the number of periods, and then the present value. and then in square brackets, which means these are optional, future value, and it will assume that's 0 since we're paying this down to nothing, and the default is the payment happens at the end of the period and not the beginning. Okay. So we're going to grab the rate above, but we need to do some stuff with it first. Because we're in Canada and our interest is added semi-annually, which is a good thing for us, this calculator is built for the assumption of a simple annuity where the compound period and the payment happen at the same time. So to adjust for that, we're going to use this formula. I'm going to say bracket 1 plus, and I'm going to grab the interest rate. Actually, I'm going to reference it explicitly here. It's cell C3, but I'm going to use a $ to anchor that exact cell. So that holds the column, letter, and row number constant. So C3, and I'm going to divide that by 2 because it's semi-annual. And then I'm going to raise that to an exponent, that shift 6, the little eyebrow caret there. And I'm going to take kind of the ratio of our compounds and our payment frequency. So I'm going to do 2 divided by 12. I could do 1/6 since that's equivalent, but just so we can see where those numbers came from here. So 2 is our compounds per year, 12 is our payments per year. And then I'm going to subtract 1. And that whole expression there is our rate. So I'm going to comma after that, and now we'll enter the number of periods. And now for that, we're going to click on our number of years and multiply, so times 12. Because we are doing this monthly, so that will make 300, 25 times 12. Comma, and our present value is the original amount of the mortgage, so 160,000. And we can close our bracket because it will assume 0 as our future value and end as our time of payment. So press enter, and that number's familiar if you work through the lesson. Now, actually, we're going to do a few other things. I am going to double click that once again. I actually want to hard reference that number of months, number of years. So I'm going to put a $ at that cell as well as my principal amount. So I'm going to do a strong reference to all of those cells. Same value in this case. It doesn't make a difference until we drag our formula down. Okay. Interest payment. We are going to use another formula here. And by the way, that negative means it's money out of our pocket we're paying to the bank. Equals interest, PMT, interest payment. And actually, before I do this, or actually maybe I will, yeah, we'll just delete that for now. I'm going to click back in here, and I'm just going to grab that formula so I don't have to type it twice. Copy that, press escape to get out. Alright, equals interest payment, and our rate, paste, comma. Now for the period, now this is going to change the amount of interest depending on how long you've been paying your mortgage for. Since there's less interest to pay down, more of our payment will go toward principal and less toward interest. So we're just going to click this cell over here. And I want that cell to change as I drag the formula down, so I'm not going to do a strong reference to that cell. Okay. Comma, the number of periods, so that is the total number, so 25 times 12. Present value, that's our principal amount of the mortgage. And that's all it needs, so we'll close that bracket. Oh, first, strong reference those other cells. The only one that we want to sort of update is that period number cell. So this means not such great news at our first payment. $887.60 of our first payment of $1,096.08 is all going toward the interest. It's not even taking care of our mortgage. What is the part going toward the mortgage? Well, that would be the rest of the payment. So we don't need a fancy formula here. We can just simply say equals this cell minus this cell. enter. So the $208.48 is going to go against our balance. So we can say in this cell, since this is already a negative number over here, I can just use a sum formula. So I'm going to say equals the sum, open a bracket of our loan balance above, comma, this negative number right there. So it's basically going to subtract that principal amount. So now we only owe $159,791,000, said that wrong, $159,791.52. Okay, we should be able to grab this entire row here and drag it down to the 300th month, and if all goes well, too far. All goes well, we should have a zero balance. Boom. Look at that. Nothing owing on the last day. Note our steady payment of $1,096. Just going to press Control up arrow to get back up to the top here. Notice what's happening with the interest payment. The amount of our payment going towards interest is decreasing. So it's becoming less and less about the interest and more about the principal. We'll make some fun graphs with this to see it visually as well, and I'll show you another handy website put out by the government that does this for you, but you don't have quite as much control here. I could switch this to 30 years. Actually, let's leave it at 25 since I didn't drag it down further, but we could switch this percent to 4% and press enter. And note our payment amount adjusts and everything auto updates. You know, we could switch the amount of our mortgage. We want a $300,000 house, $360,000 house. Well, our monthly payment is skyrocketing now, but it gets that house paid off in 25 years. So you can adjust these cell values up here and see how your amortization changes month by month for the entire life of your mortgage. So hopefully you follow this. You can back up the video. I'll put some screenshots of the formulas as well.